Warning, the podcast you are about to hear contains potentially offensive content because it's devoted to Troma Entertainment and its founder, Lloyd Kaufman.
Are you tired of searching for the perfect blend of highbrow entertainment, kung fu action, alien adventure? Well, look no further because Tales from the Crapper is here.
Blood-sucking freaks.
A show that will make anyone retch.
Not since Blood-Sucking Freaks has there been such controversial scenes of violence, dismemberment, and cannibalism. Redneck zombies.
In the tradition of Friday the 13th, Part 2, and Oklahoma, comes the first intelligent film about cannibalism.
They call me Macho Woman, as yet another example of the groundbreaking cinema that only the Troma team can bring to the silver screen.
In fact, if you don't know what Troma is, then maybe just turn off this podcast right now to be safe. Welcome to another episode of listener-supported KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast. I'm Beth Accomando. Okay, so you did hear the warning at the beginning of this podcast, right? Okay, just checking, because Troma was recently shut down on YouTube for not meeting community standards, and because just mentioning the title of Lloyd Kaufman's new film is something I probably can't even do on radio or TV. And even if I could, the very idea of what he's doing would probably be offensive. The film is #Shakespeare's Shitstorm, and it's Lloyd Kaufman's adaptation of the Bard's The Tempest. And yes, there is a literal shitstorm rained down on people by killer whales leaping out of the water over a ship and shitting on them because they've been given a laxative by Prospero.
Hello, whales! I'm so sorry that I poo-shamed you. You are amazing and we love you!
We do! We love you!
Free Willy! Part of something so natural and so special.
Thank you, whales.
And that's just the beginning. The film satirizes big pharma, cancel culture, the rich, the poor, the left, the right, and everything in between. There's nudity, drugs, gore, and offensive language. It's crass, it's gross, it's Troma. And no matter what you may think of Troma movies, you've got to admire its resiliency. You just can't keep bad movies down.
Daddy, what did you do?
Nothing. Just planning the first stages of brutal vengeance, that's all.
Daddy, you know how I feel about brutal vengeance.
For more than 4 decades, the New York-based Troma Entertainment has been making truly independent films outside of Hollywood. It boasts that it's the longest-running independent movie studio in North America, and it's celebrating 45 years of disrupting media. Kaufman likes to brag about retrospectives sponsored by the American Cinémathèque, Cinémathèque Française, the British Film Institute, the American Film Institute, and many others. Troma's best-known creation is probably The Toxic Avenger.
Meet little Melvin. He's a 90-pound weakling. Everyone hated Melvin.
I'm gonna take this mop and shove it down your throat.
They teased him.
I want to do it with you. Okay.
They taunted him. They tormented him until he had a horrifying accident and fell into a vat of nuclear waste, transforming little Melvin into a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength. Melvin became the Toxic Avenger, the first superhero born out of nuclear waste.
For almost a decade, I've been booth neighbors with Troma and Lloydie at Comic-Con, and I've seen how devoted his fans are and how passionate his staff at the booth is. So I've developed an affection for Troma over the years. But I also know I have to be very careful about sharing a Troma film. Not everyone will get what Troma is trying to do or appreciate the films they make and distribute.
From Troma, of course.
But when Lloydie said he was adapting Shakespeare, I had to get him on the podcast to talk about it. But getting the interview was a bit like herding cats.
Hi, Beth.
An emergency forced him to miss our first Zoom meeting and reschedule for later that night.
And again, I'm so sorry about the earlier mishap.
Then, it's always hard to get Lloydie to stop pitching products, be it Troma's subscription channel or his brother Charles Kaufman's bakery, Bread and Sea, here in San Diego.
Charles is on the phone in the other room with the commissioner.
His brother Charles briefly Zoom-bombed our interview, and you can hear Charles and Lloyd's wife Pat, the former New York film commissioner, having a very animated conversation on the phone in the background during my interview. Honestly, I don't know how Mrs. Kaufman managed to raise these two boys. So, throwing caution to the wind, I give you my interview with Troma Entertainment's Lloyd Kaufman with brief appearances by the commissioner and Charles Kaufman. I need to take one quick break and allow you one more opportunity to turn this podcast off so you can avoid being offended. You've been warned again.
KPBS On Demand is supported by the San Diego County Toyota dealers, presenting the new 2025 Camry with refined design and performance. Visit your local Toyota dealer to learn more about all the features the new 2025 Camry offers. The San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy.
Welcome to my Cinema Junkie podcast. I am glad to have you on.
Are you rolling? Are you filming?
I'm rolling.
Oh. I can go on and on. That's for you, Beth. That was for you.
Well, thank you. So, Lloyd, for anyone who may not know, can you give us a little background on Troma?
Well, I'm Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger, and the brother of Mr. Charles Kaufman, who not only wrote, produced, and directed Mother's Day, Eli Roth's favorite horror film, but created and runs Bread and Sea, bread business and cafe in San Diego, 350 University Avenue. You know, we come from a long line of distinguished Kaufmans.
All right, I think I can hear your wife more clearly than you.
Oh, Pat, can you and Charles go in the kitchen? But if Charles wants to come on, he is more than welcome. Sorry. Where was it?
We were talking about Troma.
Yes, Troma. After I got out of Yale University, very prestigious, very, how do you say it, privileged. I was very privileged. And I wanted to be a movie maker, but I didn't want to kiss ass in Hollywood and have to do what the Harvard Law School students have to do in Beverly Hills, where they're Xeroxing and kissing William Morris Endeavor behinds. So I started making my own damn movies and I didn't go to film school. I got lucky enough to work for a crappy little company in New York called Canon, where I met John G. Avildsen. And eventually we made Cry Uncle, which you can see on the Troma streaming service, Troma Now, watch.troma.com. And right after John Avildsen directed Cry Uncle, which you can see on Troma Now, exclusive, he made Rocky, and I came on Rocky with him. And so basically Rocky and Saturday Night Fever were my film school, Beth. And other than the wisdom I got from Charles Kaufman, as I was his older brother, so Charles was very generous with his wisdom.
How can you explain your ability to survive on that independent film scene for so long?
Well, for one thing, I think one of the secrets to a long survival in the world of cinema is you eat the bread from Bread and Sea, located conveniently and safely at 350 University Avenue. If you want a wry sense of humor, you get some of that rye bread. Speaking of which, Oliver Stone, named after the olive loaf that Bread and Sea has, started with Troma. Many famous people started with Troma Entertainment. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who created South Park. Samuel L. Jackson's first movie. We made movies. We put $400,000 into Death by Temptation around 1989. I think a little earlier than it became fashion of the day, right? We put Death by Temptation, all black people except for us, and Samuel Jackson's first movie.
His destiny had been foretold. Its fate had been forewarned. He did not know that something so sweet could be so evil. Now, the fate of mankind hangs in the balance as Kadeem Hardison, TV's Dwayne Wayne.
This honey I met the other night was bad. Bad. Super bad.
And Bill Nunn from Do the Right Thing get busy in the first contemporary horror thriller of its kind. James Bond III's Death by Temptation. She's every man's dream and your worst nightmare.
She leaves with men, and you never see them again.
So, Troma's pretty decent company. People look down their noses at us, but we've been around for 47 years. James Gunn, who brought you the Guardians of the Galaxy, worked for us for 2 or 3 years. All sorts of, not to mention the South Park guys, their first movie, Cannibal the Musical, is a Troma movie.
In the cold winter of 1874, 6 men set out on a journey through the Colorado Rockies. They were looking for gold, but what they found was that they were completely lost.
I want a thing about it now. Yeah.
So the Troma has a huge footprint on the countryside of cinema art. But yesterday, a very bad thing happened. We have a YouTube channel with 750,000 subscribers, and YouTube dumped it because of community standards. Now, Troma's been in business for 47 years. I've been making movies for 50 years. I and Troma have been honored in Shanghai Film Festival, Moscow, St. Petersburg Film Academy, Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, American Cinematheque, Museum of Modern Art twice, Museum of the Moving Image in New York, and in London, the British Film Institute, Cinémathèque Française, Shanghai. Well, I mean, the only place I haven't been honored is maybe Antarctica, because a couple of these penguins, they marry for life and all, they're kind of conservative. But other than that, what are community standards? We had 750,000 subscribers to our free channel on YouTube, and they kicked it off. But if you want to dial in bestiality on YouTube, you'll find it. If you want to go to QAnon, you'll find it. If you want to dial in anal, you'll find it. If you want CNN to show you some brutal decapitations in real wars, you'll find it. So you'll find plenty of Nazi stuff on. So obviously YouTube has a logarithm to get rid of 47-year-old independent movie studios that have been affected all over the world. So we're in trouble. We're in trouble in River City. We got trouble in River City. Thank the good Lord for clemency. Every time I look at your of you, Beth, and with Godzilla mask, it's very disturbing. Legendary, which made Godzilla versus Kong and Pikachu and some of those movies, they are remaking The Toxic Avenger, big budget remake.
Oh, wow. So did YouTube specify why you were being kicked off? Did they say specifically why?
We appealed to YouTube, and within 2 hours, the appeal was thrown out. So I think what happens with them is that they have a piece in their logarithm that directs the robot to go after the independent studio, because there's plenty of filth up on, plenty of worse stuff than Troma, right? As I mentioned, every community in the world has honored us, from the Museum of Modern Art to the Cinémathèque Française to the Shanghai Film Festival. So it's a crap system. We're in serious trouble. We have freedom of speech as long as we don't say anything, Beth. You probably know that because you work with independent television, no?
KPBS, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they have I'm sure it's as tough for PBS as it is for Troma.
But you do pride yourself on being very independent and being very much outside the Hollywood system.
Oh, it's not that I pride myself on it, but if you're going to be an artist, you have to make art. And I don't think, for the most part, that Hollywood, and I don't mean Hollywood, I mean the mainstream, because Sony is owned by the Japanese. They own Columbia Pictures, and Rupert Murdoch, an Australian, owns this. And, you know, it's kind of a universal cartel. And speaking of which, I made a 10-minute documentary, Beth, called Independent Artists versus Corrupt Cartels. It's only about 10 minutes, and it's on Troma now. Because we got kicked off YouTube, where you could have seen it for free, 750,000 other people could have seen it, but it's now on Troma Now, which is our streaming service, and it's free there also. It's an open link. You can just go watch it. But while you're at it, subscribe to Troma Now. It's our streaming service, and we're the last of the long-run independent studios, and we need help. So subscribe to Troma Now. It's the future, but now. And actually, since YouTube knocked us off a couple of days ago, we've noticed a lot of new subscribers. So for you Troma fans out there, thank you very much. And thank you to PBS.
You mentioned some of your famous alumni, you've had James Gunn, and one of my favorite memories of Troma is at Comic-Con when you had a panel, and I believe it was James Gunn and Darren Lynn Bozeman were crawling around on the ground trying to fix your AV problems while you were talking. And it's one of my favorite memories of your Comic-Con panels.
Thanks a lot. That was a long time ago. Well, James we made Romeo and Juliet in '94, I think.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Totally sucks.
And then he went to Los Angeles and made some independent films and was nice enough to give me little cameos. And then Guardians of the Galaxy. Uncle Lloyd has a wonderful cameo in that. And by the way, stay tuned for Suicide Squad. Unless James Gunn cuts me out, I have a moment.
Well, you mentioned him and you mentioned Romeo and Juliet. You've turned to Shakespeare before for material, and now you have a new film, #Shakespeare's Shitstorm. So
yes.
Where did this come from? What was your inspiration for this?
Nice question. Thank you. My favorite Shakespearean play is The Tempest, which I saw for the first time when I was around 8 years old with my mother. And, my brother made Mother's Day, so you can imagine what my mother was like.
Somewhere in the woods of Deep Barren, a woman and her sons live in isolation. When they come out, it's for one reason only.
Now let's see what you brought, Mother.
Some say she spoiled her boys. Some say she drove them mad. No one who found out has lived to tell. When you know how to celebrate, every day is Mother's Day.
Darlings, you have made your mother very proud.
So, at any rate, The Tempest, I've always wanted to make a movie of The Tempest, but I wanted to wait till I was of Prospero's age, till I got old and kind of weaker. And so we did Romeo and Juliet at the time, but I would have done, if I had been older then, I would have done The Tempest. But now that I'm old and miserable, it was the perfect time to do The Tempest, which, by the way, is Shakespeare's I think Shakespeare's trippiest and druggiest movie. And also it has a lot of magic. It's got a monster. It's very Troma-esque. And by George, if I didn't make my best movie.
And it's a hey yo, old boys, a shitstorm's a coming. Hey ho, yo boys, a shitstorm's right here. When you hear that noise, you are entering hell. This story is not all's well that ends well. Ha ha. Look out, you purveyors of corporate greed. better say your prayers, 'cause you're gonna bleed. The ship you are sailing is oh so heinous. Prospero's magic will kick Coriolanus! Coriolanus! See what I did there? Cole Porter in Tromaville!
It's a really interesting movie, and I think your fans will like it a lot.
Well, you open it with a definition of Tempest and a definition of shitstorm. And what was your definition for shitstorm? You tied it in quite directly to Troma.
Well, the film opens with some definitions, and we are self-deprecating, and made a little joke about our competency, which is not exactly way up there. But hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, aside from being a great movie, if you want to see a reading with all the stars, reading the shooting script, the actuals, we had the movie, when we finished the movie, we had it transcribed, Beth, and we invited the actors back, the stars, the main parts, and we did a reading, which we recorded on the Zoom, and you can see it on Troma Now. You go to Troma Now, it's free. Watch.troma.com, watch.troma.com. And if by chance you want to subscribe to Troma, that would sure help me. And you'll see all that stuff. It's really interesting. Very good.
In hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm, you kind of take jabs at just about everything.
Well, all of the movies that Michael Hers and I have made, or that I have directed and written or co-written, they all deal with political satire. And that's why the South Park guys loved us. And that's why they came to us first with their unfinished movie musical. And we made it good for them. We finished it and paid for it and all that stuff. They have, of course, reignited the American satire. Troma was keeping a tiny little ember of American satire alive, and Trey and Matt blew it up into a wonderful flame with their cartoons. So that's very important. The social satire is in all our movies, and there's usually a theme that I get obsessed with. For example, Poultrygeist Night of the Chicken Dead. Whatchamacallit, McDonald's moved in next door to the Troma building, and they started, they were bad neighbors. I don't want to bore you with it. But we had rats the size of raccoons in our basement. And Gabe Friedman gave me the Fast Food Nation to read, and we decided we'll make Poultrygeist. But it comes from a really serious heartache, and every movie I've made. The new movie, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, concerns the big pharma and how for my whole post-Yale career, I didn't watch much TV until I got out of college. So for the past 50 or 60 years, there have been commercials on TV for opioids and prescription drugs. Every morning since 1968, the children of the world have been watching TV commercials while they eat their Fruit Loops and become obese. They are watching on the Today Show or Good Morning America or the TV news show in the morning that nobody watches, all about drugs and the normalization. Oh, you got a hangnail? Well, there's a purple pill for you. How about Truvada? Hey, you got anal warts? Well, hey, we got just the thing for you.
I felt angry, confused.
I had a college education, a place to live.
I grew up in a household with an income of over $100,000 a year.
But I still felt like a victim.
Victim. Until one day, my doctor told me I suffered from entitlementia.
Entitlementia is a disease that commonly afflicts middle to upper class people between the ages of 18 and 30. Symptoms may include excessive whining, intolerance of differing opinions, difficulties with critical thinking, extreme narcissism, fear of jokes, chronic tweeting, allergic to microaggression, no one wanting to hang out with you.
Now there's a treatment. Safe Spacia.
Safe Spacia creates your own personal safe space wherever you go.
Right? So that's one thing. and the crookedness of the doctors who are getting paid off by the pharma companies. The big companies send them on cruises and give them spas and $10,000 vacations in the Dominican Republic. At any rate, that's one theme. And then the other theme are the hashtag social justice warriors that have created a world now where we have freedom of speech as long as nobody says anything. And Senator Al Franken is driven out of office. Perhaps one of 3 senators who actually are working for us gets driven out of office by a woman no less, of his own party for no reason. How many cancellations have there been? So hashtag Shakespeare shitstorms deal with the 2 themes.
Well, and it seems like you spare no one, though. It's a film that's likely to offend people on all sides, all political sides.
I disagree. I think anyone who abides by look who's here. The commissioner is here. Oh, come on, just say hello to Beth. Here's you know Beth from Comic-Con. Commissioner is here.
Did you bring chocolate chip cookie dough cookies?
Sorry, I don't have any cookies for you today. I'm sorry, it's too hot.
Hey.
Well, I think I got to get back on.
I hear a mysterious voice. Actually, the commissioner and Charles Kaufman are on the phone just until now. If I'm not mistaken, I hear.
I see a loaf of bread.
Oh, I'm not on the video. Hello? Hello? No.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, crusty sense of humor I see.
Have we been Zoom bombed?
Where is the... I can't... It's weird. It's not... Sorry. I think I've lost this whole thing.
Uh-oh. We've lost Charles. I think instead of turning his camera on, he's disconnected.
Yeah, I figured that would get rid of him. But he only made the greatest horror film of all time, Mother's Day, which, by the way, is Eli Roth's favorite horror film. And I have it on tape twice. I interviewed Eli twice, and in both of them, he digresses to talk about how great Mother's Day is, and also the touches of Susan Kaufman, the art director. Mother's Day really is and it's been remade once, and we've had another, somebody called up recently for, I think, music rights. So they want to do a vinyl, a Mother's Day vinyl. I prefer the Mother's Day Twizzlers than the red vinyls, but what are you going to do? Thank you. Thanks, Beth. You're nice. Thanks for laughing.
So, all right, wait. Charles is attempting to come back.
Beth, is the bread? It's very weird. For some reason, it's not. I got Lloyd. All I got is Lloyd here, which, don't get me wrong, is wonderful.
Yeah, sure, Charles. Sure, right.
We can hear you, though.
Yeah, we do hear you. It's terrific.
Yeah, but my face is so handsome. I don't.
Well, I could probably find a photograph. Hold on, let me see if I can. I think I have something right here. Hold on, Beth, just in case the audience would like to see.
All right, I should let you guys. That's very weird.
Here is Charles Kaufman along with Kira Kaufman. Was taken, what, Charles, about 10 days ago, would you say?
That's right. Yep, that is, yep. Oh, crap. I need to have the picture on here. That's very weird. I wonder if I need to move. Why don't you guys continue? I'll sign out and sign back on again.
I want to know how your mom managed to raise the 2 of you.
Charles memorialized it in Mother's Day. Come on. That's
well, you actually play her in the Shitstorm too. If people want to have an idea, you look exactly like Mom.
Yes, in hashtag, you're being a spoiler, but in hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, I look much better as my sister, and who happens to look exactly like my mother. I'm a much more attractive woman, oddly enough.
Yeah, your legs are nicer than Moo's. Yeah. Let me try this again. I'm sorry to louse this up, Beth. I am very sorry. I don't know why it's not doing it.
You did it on purpose. At any rate, bread and C, we've been talking about it quite a bit. Beth just insists on she can't get enough bread and C, especially the olive loaf with 6 inches of Jakarta on the side.
So I do want to talk a little bit about Shitstorm. And you actually even brought Shakespeare into the film.
Woo! And so begins our tale of madness and vengeance. Hello, I'm William Shakespeare. Come with me and we'll greet our cast and characters. The man with the champagne bottle is Alonzo King, a.k.a. Big Al, president of Avonbard, the largest pharmaceutical company in the world. Known for his hard partying ways, he's far more interested in pleasures of the flesh than with the overseeing of business.
Yes, we did. Well, he gets a brief cameo in Tromeo and Juliet, written by James Gunn. And he did such a good job that we brought him back for a hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, and he's got a pretty big part now. So good for the Bard.
He even has to face off against Francis Bacon in this.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I can see you watched the movie. Thank you so much.
Of course I did. I even noticed that you have Shakespeare quotes on the protest signs.
We sure do. We sure do. Well, again, I'm a pretty good student of Shakespeare. I probably know more about the Tempest than a lot of these so-called Kevin Branaghs and all those guys. Although I very much enjoy his films, but I have a pretty deep knowledge when it comes, at the very least, to the Tempest. And I think I have a pretty good knowledge of Shakespeare. And I think that a Shakespearean scholar who looks at Tromeo and Juliet and then looks at hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, I think he or she or they will be very, very excited by it and get it. I think there's a lot in there that they will get because it's drawn from lectures I've been to or the actual plays or just stuff I've read from the time I was 8 years old. I studied the Tempest in high school, again in college. I've seen it many times. I interviewed Lillian Gish at one point. Was in it, all that kind of stuff.
Now, the film makes fun of this whole cancel culture and snowflakes and.
By the way, if I may interrupt, there is a live reading which we did a couple of nights ago, but it's permanently on Troma's streaming service, Troma Now. So if you go to watch.troma.com, you can see the live reading of the shooting script. We had the entire script transcribed, and we put it up. We did it live a couple of nights ago, but now it's up on Troma Now, and it'll be up at least until August 29th, when the actual movie will premiere on Fantasia Film Festival, which is a Canadian festival. So it will be available in the US and Canada on October 29th. That'll be the world premiere online.
Oh, so I've gotten a sneak preview then.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen it. I mean, the New York Times, New York Post, New Yorker Magazine, Variety have all contacted, and others, about 25 others of that ilk, have contacted Fantasia to review the movie. So you have it ahead of anybody.
Talk a little bit about this production. What were some of the challenges you faced? Because you have a lot of special effects and gore and whales creating a shitstorm, and how difficult was this to pull off?
We made a $50 million movie for about $500,000. And we filmed 8 days in Albania. With the first American movie to be made to be filmed. We shot 8 days, so we had 3 weeks. We had some pre-production and then 8 days of filming in Albania, and first American company to do that, and it worked out great. They're terrific, and they did the CGI for the actual shitstorm. So we had a great crew. They were all Troma fans. The only Troma movies they've seen are pirated, but they knew Terra Firma, Troma's War, Toxic Avenger. They knew the famous ones and the not so famous. Great crew, terrific. And then we spent for maybe 5 weeks filming in Queens. We were based in Queens, New York, and filmed in New York the rest of the time.
Your wife, who we briefly saw, has been the New York Film Commissioner. How does she help in terms of giving you advice for getting to shoot in places like Albania?
Useless, totally useless. But once she finished being the commissioner, then she could get involved. She's very smart, and so she is one of the producers of #Shakespeare's Shitstorm, along with Justin Martell, who has a company called Ship to Shore Phonograph that makes vinyl. And he was my assistant years ago and produced one of our movies. No, he produced Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High, as well as another movie which we have on Troma now, Mr. Bricks, a heavy metal murder musical. And so Justin was the one who made the contact in Albania and got us, $10 million worth of production value for maybe 100,000 maximum. And then John Brennan, who also was my assistant, who produced the Kabuki Man's Cocktail Corner and other things for Troma, and with whom Justin Martell produces the Joe Bob Briggs drive-in movie show, The Last Drive-In, along with Matt Mangiarides, who also worked for Troma. The three of them produce Joe Bob Briggs' new show, which is a huge hit on Shudder. So they were and then Pat was the adult in the room, and her wisdom and experience made sure that we stayed on budget and that, we didn't go too far into cuckoo land. Once she retired from being the film commissioner, you may not know this, but Pat was film commissioner for 20 years in New York.
Yeah.
And he was appointed by both Republican and Democratic governors. And while she was there, she established the incentive program, which has resulted in New York State and New York City building at least a dozen new studios. Billions of dollars in jobs have been brought to New York, and with this wonderful incentive, which Troma never used because we didn't want to have any appearance of conflict of interest. However, #Shakespeare's Shitstorm, we are applying to New York State for the subsidy, the incentive subsidy. But we never did it before that because we didn't want to have any, even a hint of impropriety. But it's okay for Biden's son to go over to Ukraine and get $50,000 a year for doing nothing, or $50,000 a month for doing nothing. But for me, an independent artist, to take legally the incentive from New York State, I could have done it totally legal, but we were concerned about the optics because we're good, God-fearing, honest people. We wanted to be sure that there was no chance of any conflict of interest.
Well, I have gotten to meet your wife because, for full disclosure, you and I are neighbors at Comic-Con every year. We have booths next to each other, and I get to see you, except for this year because of the pandemic, I get to see you every year at the Troma booth.
You're the nicest neighbor. You're such a nice person. You're the best. And you have such a good sense of humor. And you have taken my brother, my brother's very sensitive, very shy, and you've taken him on. I think he's kind of opened up under your wing, Beth. You think you brought him out of his, shyness shell, however you want to put it. You've given him he's got a sense of humor. He's like a new person. It's unbelievable.
Well, he comes and lets me put body parts on his bread racks, so.
He loves it.
So are you going to get him to make another film with you?
Charles, I would love it. I keep asking him to write something, but he's got an empire there. That Bread and Sea's got like 400 employees. He's got a huge business. And Jakarta, which he made in Indonesia, which is a great action film, funny, and it's a wonderful action film. And he keeps the negative in his freezer where the dough is. So if you want to have some fun, go into Bread and Sea and order. Give me a olive loaf with it was 6 inches of Jakarta on the side. And Jakarta is terrific. Unfortunately, it got caught up in one of those startup big deal bubble studios that grew out of the 1990s called MCEG, which went down the drain. I think Jakarta is somewhere in the library of of MGM, unfortunately. Sad but true. But Mother's Day lives. And When Nature Calls. If you haven't seen When Nature Calls.
When nature calls. And when nature calls, you gotta go.
You talking to me?
Yes, When Nature Calls is a comedy that takes you away from the hustle and bustle of the big city. All of one with everything. And brings you to the beauty and tranquility of the untouched wilderness.
It's on Troma now, and you can see it for free. The first month is free. When Nature Calls is hilarious, and it's way ahead of Tarantino and Rodriguez's Grindhouse. Right, Grindhouse. Charles's movie is funnier. It's got the trailers. It's got the same basic drive-in tribute, but it's way before that came out, and it's terrific. And it unfortunately didn't. Because we're small and we just don't have the money to advertise. But whenever people see Charles's movies, they are knocked out. And Troma Now itself is great. We got about 200 movies like The Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High and Tromeo and Juliet, Surf Nazis Must Die, Blood-Sucking Freaks, which is a terrible movie, but very popular.
I am Sadhu. Master of the theater of the macabre.
Prepare yourself for the horror. Prepare yourself for the terror. Prepare yourself for the ultimate blood-curdling experience.
Blood-sucking freaks!
Anyway, you'll see a lot of great films there, including Cannibal the Musical, which was what led to South Park.
So how would you define Troma's personality?
That's a great question. I think people who go to see a Troma movie, they know they may love Terra Firma or they may hate Troma's War, but they know they will never forget Return to Nukem High or Return to Nukem High. They'll have an event, they'll have an emotion, they'll have an adventure in the cinema. They won't be looking at baby food, they'll be challenged. They will, instead of getting baby food, they'll be getting the jalapeno on the pizza of culture, the cultural pizza. They get the taste of the jalapeno. And, it's not the mainstream, but there's quite a number of intelligent younger people who don't want to see baby food. You can live on baby food, but very, very boring. And, our channel, we're a 47-year-old. Did I talk to you about the fact that 2 days ago, YouTube destroyed our 750,000. We had 750,000 people in our community, and we've been honored from the Museum of Modern Art to the French Cinematheque to the Shanghai Film Festival. All over the goddamn world, and yet we don't live up to community standards. So we've done everything on our own. And about 4 years ago, we saw where Amazon and YouTube were going to destroy the competition to the 5 or 6 giant conglomerates. So we started Troma Now, which is a streaming service, to migrate from the free movies. We wanted to give our movies away for free, but they kept censoring, demonetizing, and then they wanted us to change the titles. And finally, they've just kicked our channel off the air. So we got to go to Troma Now. So please go to Troma Now. And if you can support us a bit, subscribe to watch.troma.com. First month is free anyway.
You seem to be highly adaptive, though, to keep Troma alive this long.
Well, Michael Hurst, my partner, is a real movie aficionado. He loves cinema, and he enjoys this. He's a shit disturber. He's much quieter. He hates publicity. 100% good guy, much better looking than I, better sense of humor, better spoken. But he decided a while back that he would run the company and sort of be the CEO. And he's somehow kept us going with the kinds of movies we've been making, like Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, or Return to Nukem High. So, kudos to him. And I'm sorry, YouTube, you're wrong. we're a cultural phenomenon. We're an American treasure. My archives are with the American Heritage in Oklahoma, where Stan Lee's the one who told them to put my stuff there. What's more community oriented than Stan Lee or John G. Avildsen, my other mentor and buddy who died? They both died this year. Who did Rocky and has pushed a lot for Troma movies. What community doesn't like Troma? I'd love to know what community standard has been upset by Troma. I know Mother Teresa wasn't that keen on sugar cookies, but she was okay with most of our movies.
Well, I can see how there could be people who might be offended, but no reason to take you off of YouTube, even if that's the case.
Definitely. But the thing, the main point is so many of our mainstream movies and newspapers and, everything has been so consolidated and the scale is so huge. It's like Colgate toothpaste. They can't, it's got to be very homogenized. Right? You go to the drugstore, Colgate or Crest, that's it. And maybe if you want to go to Woodchuck toothpaste or Nature's toothpaste, you have to ask for it and they'll order it in or something. But you have to know about it, like Troma. And unfortunately, we're in that position where in the media, the public all over the world is under the thumb of a cartel that is running rampant over free speech and controls the government, not just here, but in other countries. And, it gets harder and harder for people like us to keep going. But we do, thanks to our fans. We had 750,000 people on the YouTube site. I imagine they'll get a fair number of them will go over to Troma now. And they also keep us going. They act in our films. We get people, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. The main technical crew came in from Los Angeles because they were bored and, they got about 10% of what they got out in LA, but the guy could, instead of being a camera operator, he got to be the director of photography and the camera operator moved up from wherever he was working in McDonald's. So the point, no, that's not true, but he got to move up wherever, so they get to have some fun. They get to be in a project that they believe in, something that they believe in the art, where they believe in the message of the film and the art of the film and of the spirit of independence, as well as have some fun where they can experiment and take chances and move up the food chain. And the exchange is, of course, they don't get paid what they get paid in a real movie. And our fans, it's our fans, all the actors, every person in hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, including CGI. We have CGI people on hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm that worked on Star Wars. I mean, they love Troma and they did it for nothing. So, we've got, you're going to see a $50 million movie made for $500,000, less than $500,000.
So what do you see for the future of Troma and are you guys going to be able to weather this pandemic?
Very good question. I think Troma sort of has a life of its own. The Toxic Avenger alone, it's being made into a $1 billion, remake with a very good script. I've read it. It's better than the original Toxic Avenger. And Macon Blair, you would like his movies, Beth, if you haven't seen them. He wrote Green Room and Murder Party, and he directed one movie, which he wrote called I Don't Like It Like,
I No Longer Feel at Home in the World?
It's that thing, yeah.
Oh, that was great.
It's a low-budget movie, but it's totally original, crazy. The guy is, and he's obsessed with it. Macon Blair loves Troma. He's seen Terra Firma 100 times. He lives in Austin, so he's not in LA being, the coal miner town kind of where everything's run by the company store. So if they actually go ahead with this, they're searching for a tentpole actor, a big-time actor. It's really hard now because none of the stars really know where they're going because of this hiatus, crazy time we live in. But I think Toxie, there's all sorts of licensing deals. Just Toxie alone And the Troma brand, if I were to suddenly get hit by a bus, I think the Troma brand would be a lot of, there'd be a lot of assets therein that would be liberated to go into some, company where with all this new streaming and new technology, they always need content. So my guess, it's just with Michael and I running the show, we don't want it to go into other hands until it's totally safe. So I guess, but I think when we go away, the company will have a life of its own.
Well, and for hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm, you are in front of the camera quite a bit as well in a dual role.
Well, that was one of the reasons I wanted to wait till I was of Prospero's age. First of all, it's very hard to get old people who have any talent to act in a low-budget movie. If you haven't gotten into the union by the time you're 40, most likely you're going to become a paralegal or something. So the talented older people don't really exist, except they're already in the Screen Actors Guild. And we have thousands of people in our movies. We cannot possibly sign a Screen Actors Guild contract. So I suck less than the kind of old people who would be available to me. So I played Prospero. And if you look at Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High, I play the main villain, Herzkoff, the chairman of a Tromaville Foodstuffs fast food conglomerate. I feel Prospero at my age. I feel him. I think I got it. I don't know how good my acting is, but I know in my head and soul, I could feel the loss of power that he had, the loss of his family, his kingdom, and the enjoyment of magic and drugs and trippy stuff. And I have daughters, blah blah blah. So I don't think my acting is the best, but I think it's better than most mainstream movies. When you see old people in the mainstream movies, I just watched Camelot again, and there's an old guy in that, and I think I'm better than he. And he had a sir in front of his name, whereas I have a madam in front of my name. Spoiler alert.
Well, is there anything you want to say as a closing comment or to get people interested in seeing your film?
Well, I have to say I have one huge regret in that my brother and I did not work together more often than we did. I think I didn't get how talented he is. And on the other hand, he's got a huge bread empire with 400 people working. And I'm in Long Island City fighting with the summons for a $50 garbage ticket. So, he's doing all right. But I regret that he didn't, he was the most, Susan is very talented, my sister, who was Charles's production designer on all his movies. And she's great. She's got also a great sense of humor and great sense of satire. But he was the funniest, and he knows how to write. He knows how to. He is South Park. He's South Park. I'm Family Guy, right? South Park, beginning, middle, end, 24 minutes. It's just brilliant. And Mother's Day is just like that. Whereas I think I'm more in the Family Guy zone. Pretty good, but just not the sophisticated writing that South Park has. Family Guy has that sort of where they veer off and make reference to some stupid thing that has nothing to do with the plot, but gets you out of it and has a fast joke. And, I do a lot of breaking the fourth wall. I do a lot of that in my movies because I like that stuff. I'm a big fan of Bertolt Brecht, but it's not necessarily the best screen. And South Park is a much more skillful beginning, middle, and end than Mother's Day and When Nature Calls and Jakarta's great. It would have been really great to see what Charles would have kept doing, because I think he would have done some great stuff. He's extremely well read and well educated, and the best sense of humor of the family for sure. I think the most talent, without a doubt. He's not as good looking as I, but no, you can't have everything.
Well, I think he still wants to make films because, I come into Breadensea and every now and then they're shooting stuff. They came in one day and they were shooting with sock puppets, teaching how to do high tea.
Yeah, Charles is, seriously, he's great. He's funny as hell. And everybody loves him too. They come into he's almost on stage in the cafe. The people and his employees love him too, right? Carlos, when I go in there, they all, it's fun. They haven't. I'm sure they're working hard, but they enjoy it and they love him. So how cool is that?
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking some time to talk about Troma and your new film.
Well, Beth, if there's any way you could promote watch.troma.com, ask people to subscribe to Troma now because we're off. We have no contact with our fans, so we lost 650,000 fans, 750,000 fans. So it'd be great if you could just suggest people go there. And it's a great community, and it's all free the first month, but it would help if we could get more subscribers. We're living in a Troma horror film.
We all are, I think, right now.
Yeah, you're right, Beth. At any rate, Megan and Marcus, by the way, send you their love. They run our booth, and they run Troma's. Troma is totally fan-fueled. And Megan and Marcus represent us in the West, and they are Troma in the West, and they're fans. They don't get paid; they get the expenses, and that's about a little money here and there. Troma is totally fan fueled. The people in the East, same thing. Ron and Kathy, they do about 35 conventions a year, and nobody gets paid. It's all fan volunteers and having a good time and being crazy, doing something you believe in. That's the lesson, perhaps. Do what you believe in.
Well, that's a good way to end. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. And again, forgive me for being late. Thank you so much.
That was Lloyd Kaufman, founder of Troma Entertainment. His latest film is #Shakespeare's Shitstorm. Please consider subscribing to the Troma channel at watch.troma.com. I hope you enjoyed listening to Lloyd Kaufman talk about his truly independent Troma Entertainment. No matter what you think of its films, at the very least, you have to give them both credit for providing a place for young filmmakers who might have zero experience but a lot of passion for film, a place to get started. So till our next Film Fix, I'm Beth Accomando, your resident cinema junkie.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Markel Design and Remodeling, helping homeowners with their home remodeling needs. From ADUs to kitchen remodels, room additions, and custom homes, Markel Design and Remodeling can help homeowners design and build their dream homes. More at trustyourhometous.com.